Hello and welcome back to our online English class. Today we are going to do lessons E and F of Unit 9, but before we do that, we are going to review lesson D. So go ahead and look at this worksheet, and exercise A says scan the story. So there's a story here, but they are pretty easy words. So I'm not going to show the story. I think you are able to go ahead and do it without seeing the story. So let's take a look at number 1. The word is race, and if you look here, the answer is C. And a race is a competition. Okay, so go ahead and do the rest of the words and match them with the definitions. So keep in mind the parts of speech, and as you match the definitions, I want you to practice making sentences. So as I did for number 1, I want you to do the same thing. So again, the example was a race is a competition. So race is a noun, and of course competition is a noun. So for definition sentences, we can use the words is or means. So since race is a noun, we can say a race is a competition. But if the word is a verb or an adjective or an adverb, then it's usually better to use the word means. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and continue when you are finished. Okay, so let's look at number 2, replied. Okay, so actually for this one, I'm not going to type the letters in, so just listen carefully. But number 2, we can say replied means answered. Okay, so letter D. And in this case, you do not need to say replied, of course, because replied is a verb. So we just say replied means answered. Okay, and then number 3, route. And you can also pronounce this word as route. So some people say route, and some people say route. Okay, so we can say a route is a direction to travel. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. Okay, so again, you can see that this is a noun because it says a direction. So route is also a noun. So we can say a route is a direction to travel, letter E. Okay, and then number 4, swiftly. This is an adverb, so we can say swiftly means quickly. Swiftly means quickly. Okay, and then number 5, peacefully. This is also an adverb, so we can say peacefully means quietly. Peacefully means quietly. And then finally, number 6, approach. Okay, approach, and of course the last letter left is A, so we know that approach means get nearer. Approach means get nearer. And some of you might be wondering about the part of speech for this word, approach, because it can be a noun or a verb. And since we haven't seen the story, we may not know the part of speech, but if we look at the answer, we can guess that, or we can conclude that in this case, approach is used as a verb, get nearer. So we do not need to say an approach is. We can just say approach means to get nearer, or just approach means get nearer. Okay, so now we are going to look at the story, and you should be very familiar with the story. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so you can see the story and the questions. You can So the title is The Tortoise and the Hare. The Tortoise and the Hare. And just by looking at the picture, I'm sure you already know this story, this fable. It's a very famous one. So go ahead and read the story, and you'll see the vocabulary words in italics, as mentioned above. And italics are words that are leaning. So you can see they look a little bit different from the words around them. So read the story and then answer these questions in complete sentences. And then also do letter C. Write the moral, which is like a lesson or a meaning of the story in your own words. And if you remember from last time, a moral is often found in fables. So a fable is a short story with a lesson or a moral lesson, which, is a lesson for life, for living your life in a good way. They are often told to children. So the characters often include animals. Okay, so go ahead and take some time to do this. You can pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. Oh, actually, before we do that, I'll go ahead and read that story, and you can follow along one more time. So, The Tortoise and the Hare. One day, a hare saw a tortoise walking slowly down the road. The hare began to laugh at the tortoise. "You're so slow," he said. "I can run much faster than you." "Let's have a race," the tortoise replied. "Then we'll see which one of us is faster." The hare, who thought he was the fastest of all the animals, accepted. They agreed on a route and started the race. The hare ran swiftly ahead. He ran so far ahead of the tortoise that he could not see the tortoise any more. He said to himself, "If I take a little nap here, I'll still win the race easily." So the hare sat under a tree and was soon sleeping peacefully. The tortoise continued with the race. He wasn't fast, but step by step he slowly approached his goal. When the hare woke up, it was too late. The tortoise was already passing the finish line. The hare was furious. The tortoise had won. The tortoise had never stopped, and so he won the race. Okay, so number 1. Why did the hare laugh at the tortoise? Okay, so of course you can see here he was slow. And if you want, you can write a complete sentence using because, since we have the question word why. So you can say, the hare laughed at the tortoise because he was slow. Okay, and then number 2, what did they decide to do? So let's see, you can say, they decided to have a race. Okay, so actually let me check here real quick. Race, okay, is a competition, yeah. So as you can see, it's used as a noun, so we can say they decided to have a race. But we could also say they decided to race, which uses the word race as a verb instead. They decided to race. Okay, and then number 3, why did the hare lose? Okay, so we can say the hare lost because, and your interest might be a little bit different, but we could say the hare lost because he thought he could easily beat or defeat the tortoise, comma, so he took a nap. So this one's a long answer. And of course you can make it shorter and you can just say the hare lost because he took a nap. Okay, so let me do this so that you know. You can just write the shorter version, and the parentheses are optional. So you can say the hare lost because he took a nap. Okay, or the hare lost because he thought he could easily beat the tortoise, so he took a nap. And you might have said the hare lost because he was too proud or too arrogant, which means you think too highly of yourself. So that's why he even decided to take a nap to start with. Okay, so number 4, why did the tortoise win? We can say the tortoise won because he never stopped, or you can say he didn't give up. Okay, so in the story it says never stopped, so you can use that, but many of you are familiar with the story where they say the tortoise never gave up. So often we use the story to tell children, never give up, keep going. So you can, of course, use this phrase as well. Okay, and you could also include that here for the answer to letter C. You could say the meaning of the story is, or you can just say, never give up. Okay, never give up. Or you might say, keep trying and don't give up. Okay. Now we are going to look at another activity, another worksheet actually. So this is another fable, but it is scrambled. So again, scrambled means mixed up. So I'm going to give you some time to read each sentence. There are 11 strips, as you can see. If we did this activity in class, I would cut the strips and mix them up, of course. So there are 11 strips, and you need to put them in the correct order. So some of you, or most of you, should be familiar with this activity. So you can pause the video and put the strips in the correct order, and play the video, resume the video when you're finished. Okay, so let's look at the answer. Okay, and this is the answer. So let's read the story. One summer day, a grasshopper was dancing and singing in a field. In the field, he saw an ant carrying a heavy piece of corn. The grasshopper asked the ant, "Where are you taking that corn?" "To our anthill," the ant replied. Then the grasshopper asked, "Why don't you sing with me instead of working so hard?" And the ant replied, "I can't sing with you because I am helping to save food for the winter." "Why are you worrying about the winter when it is summer now and we have food?" The ant did not reply and walked away with his big piece of corn. Soon it was winter, and the grasshopper was miserable because he had no food. He walked to the anthill and saw the ants sharing the corn they had saved in the summer. Then he understood what the wise ants knew. Prepare today for what you will need tomorrow. Okay, so this is the moral, the lesson of the story. Prepare today for what you will need tomorrow. So many of you are probably familiar with this fable as well. Okay, so we are done with our review of the lessons last week. So now we are going to look at our student's book. So open your books to page 118, lesson E. Okay, so page 118, lesson E. Okay, so let's take a look at this photo. And without looking at the story, just look at the questions. And hold on just a second, let me zoom in. Okay, so just look at the questions and take a brief moment to answer them. And you don't have to make complete sentences, just answer them in short phrases or words. So number 1, what is the environmental problem in this photo? Okay, so you might say, air pollution, okay, or smog, okay. And then number 2, why is it a problem? And number 3, how does this problem hurt people and the environment? So you can see here causes and effects. So just briefly take a moment to think of some causes and effects of air pollution or smog. Okay, so now let's take a look at the paragraph. Okay? The causes and effects of smog. Okay? Smog is a serious environmental problem in my city. One cause is that there are too many cars on the roads and highways. Most of the cars have only one person, the driver. People seem to take a lot of unnecessary trips. They drive to the drugstore instead of walking 2 blocks. Another cause of smog in my city is that we use too much electricity. Since many homes are not energy efficient, our city's power plant has to produce more electricity. The burning coal from the power plant produces more air pollution. The smog is thick, so the air is hard to breathe. Consequently, on many days it is unsafe for children and senior citizens to be outside. Smog also kills many trees and plants that produce oxygen and clean the air. If people drove less and used less electricity, I am sure our air quality would improve. Okay? If you need more time to look over the paragraph, you can pause the video and read it again, and then complete lesson C. So if you look at lesson C, it says complete the graphic organizer with information from the model paragraph. Okay, so if you look at this red box or red outlined box here, you'll see one way to organize a paragraph is to discuss the causes and effects of a problem. So this graphic organizer helps us to organize the information in a graphic way or in a visible way, which is why we call it a graphic organizer, like a diagram. In this case, it is organized by causes and effects. Let's take a look at the examples. The problem is smog, and then here we have multiple causes. One cause is that there are too many cars. Okay, as you can see, one cause is that there are too many cars on the roads and highways. But, of course, when you make a graphic organizer, you can just shorten the information, abbreviate the information. So you can just take notes. So too many cars, that's enough. And then one of the details is that most cars only have one person. Okay, but here they took out the verb, just as most cars, only one person. So you can see that there's not really enough space to make a long sentence anyway. So just take notes. And then one effect is that the air is hard to breathe. Okay, and again, there's no verb here. It's just air, hard to breathe. So take some time to complete this graphic organizer. You can pause the video and continue when you are finished. Okay, so let's look at the second detail for the first cause, and we can say just unnecessary trips. Unnecessary trips, so you can see that here. And then the second cause is we use too much electricity. Right here, we use too much electricity. Okay, and you can also take out we, and you can just say use too much electricity. And the first detail is homes not energy efficient. Okay, homes not energy efficient. And the second detail, burning coal produces more pollution. Or you could also say power plants burn coal. Okay, and you can see that here in this sentence. Okay, so again, you could say burning coal produces more pollution, or power plants burn coal. Okay, and then let's look at the effects. So, of course, we already read the first effect. The second effect is that it is unsafe for children and seniors. Unsafe for children and seniors. And then the last one is kills many trees and plants. Kills many trees and plants. Okay. So you can go ahead and move on to part 2 of this lesson, part 2.